Hello, everyone. I am back. I have realised it's been about 3 years since I've last done one of these, so it's very exciting. And I do apologise it's been so long, but I intend to keep going now. So you can look forward to seeing a lots of our new videos. We are Vegan Bloomers. Our mission is to connect, inspire, and learn. And our lovely star vegan that we have today is Poppy. Welcome,
Hello,
Poppy. I'm
thank you.
so glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
So we'll just start off with the basics. So myself and the viewers would love to know where you're based, how old you are, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Poppy May. I'm 24 years old. I'm based around kind of West Sussex area, and I am also a wheelchair athlete that does like fitness, content creation, and on top of that, obviously, all my activism.
Amazing. Tell us a bit about your new ventures in the wheelchair accessibility stuff that you're doing.
Well, yes, I'm trying to, I guess, campaign against smaller businesses to have access. So recently I made a restaurant basically wheelchair accessible, which is just a bit crazy to say that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a ramp. I had to drag myself up these stairs to gain access to their restaurant, which obviously is not a good look on their restaurant. So I carried on nagging at them and nagging at them. And they now have a ramp.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's so sad, isn't it? Like my housemate, she's in a wheelchair and she's constantly having to fight for trying to get entrance in places. And I know of
Yeah.
other people that have really like they've gone in just, with compassion and, you know, just an open mind, and then what they receive sometimes is quite horrific. And
Yeah.
it's really sad to hear about like how much discrimination there still is in just basic things. Like you shouldn't have to fight for something like that. Like it's your basic needs, your
Yeah.
basic rights. And it's just, yeah, it's really sad. It blows my mind. But I'm glad you're out there fighting for your cause, as for people
But
that are not brave enough to do that. So
yeah,
really admire that about you.
thank you.
You're welcome. So aside from doing your activism, trying to make the world a better place, what are your hobbies and interests?
So I do photography. I used to do it as like a job. I still kind of occasionally do, but it's kind of when I get a job come in. But I don't really like do it every single day, for example. So I do the photography, and then, like I say, I'm a content creator, so I film videos in the gym or out and about, and I kind of upload them onto my social media for like everyone to see, really.
It's amazing. What's your channel called?
It's just Poppy May Fitness.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I send many of your videos in the gym. It's very, very nice to see.
It puts a lot of people to shame, all
Yeah,
I can
definitely.
say.
Like me included, because I am not a gym goer.
Even those that do go to the gym, some of them are like, "How are you lifting those weights?" And I'm like, I don't know, I just
That's awesome. It's incredible. I love it.
Thank you.
So, let's move on to talking about while we're here about your veganism. So, I would love to know first, how long have you been vegan, and just tell us the story of your journey as to how you got here in the first place.
Yeah, of course. So I have been vegan. It was a year in December,
Oh, so
just
maybe,
gone.
maybe.
So I'm very new to it all. But once I found out what was really going on, I didn't want to keep my mouth shut. I was like, nope, everyone needs to know this. So that's how I got into activism. But how I got into veganism in the first place is it's quite a long story, but I met my partner who is Muslim,
Okay.
and I was eating meat at the time. And he basically said, "Look, I'm not going to eat it unless it's halal." And I was like, "Well, no, because I'm against the process of that, and I don't like that." But then it was kind of raised the question, well, you don't know how the animal's killed when you're eating it. And I'm like, that's a good point. Maybe we can't trust anything. So we both went vegetarian. And then my mum went vegan about 5 years ago, and she kept telling me to watch Dominion because I wasn't eating eggs. I was drinking plant-based milk, but I was still eating chocolate, cheese, ice cream, things like that. So she just kept nagging me every single time I saw her. And I got so frustrated with her every single time.
I
Watch
bet.
Dominion, watch Dominion. I was like, right, okay. And it just out of spontaneously on Christmas Eve, I was like, I'm going to watch Dominion.
Of all the times as well.
I know, out of all the times, right? So I watched Dominion and saw everything. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be part of this. And then from that moment on, I went vegan.
That's amazing. Did you have any like struggles in your transition?
I think my struggle was probably cheese. That was my like thing that I struggled with the most. Um, but apart from that, I wouldn't say so, no.
So how did you overcome that?
I just basically didn't have it.
Okay.
Like my mum
Went cold
basically,
turkey.
my mum said, if you don't have it for 6 weeks and then you have vegan cheese, it will taste the same. And I was like, right, okay. So that's what I did. And she was
Okay.
right. It tasted exactly the same.
Wow. Okay. Can you remember what the first vegan cheese you ever had was?
Oh God, now you're asking. I think it was vegan cheese that I got from the vegan markets that I go to. So it's called Sophie's Delight. And
Okay.
it was like a kind of like a vegan um oh, what's the word for it? I can't remember the word for the cheese now.
That's
But
okay.
it was called like casheurella or something like that, and it's
Okay.
made with cashew nuts. And that was like my first
Nice.
vegan cheese I tried.
Name, I like that. I haven't heard of Sophie Still. I have to check them out.
It's very good.
Did you say it was your local one?
Yeah, it was local vegan market. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Awesome. So, when obviously when you did decide to take the plunge to go into veganism, how did everyone around you react to that?
I lost quite a lot of people in my life. I can't lie to you. My Facebook went from, fitness, mental health to activism, activism, activism. And I think a lot of my friends kind of drifted away. I noticed I wasn't talking to a lot of my friends. People that have followed my journey had stopped following my journey. But I did put a post out like why I'm doing activism and why I've started doing activism. And to be honest, I had a lot of like respect from that post.
Yeah.
But after a while, I realized that all these people that had been following me this whole time had stopped following me. And I felt so, I guess, broken by it. As much as I know that I'm doing activism for such a good cause, I
Yeah.
also wanted that support at the same time.
Yeah,
So
of course. That's important.
I started posting my activism, but only so specific people could see it on Facebook.
Right,
So like
okay.
specific friends would see it. And then those that obviously want to follow my journey, they don't see those posts necessarily, but they still see my posts, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, that's a clever way of doing it, actually. I never thought about doing that. So it must be a
Yeah,
bit like, how did you kind of differentiate the kind of people that you thought would be okay with seeing those kind of stuff?
I think just non-vegans in general.
Yeah.
All the
Okay.
non-vegans didn't
So
see
you
the
just sort of
activism.
shared it like in the beginning with just fellow vegans, the stuff you were
Yeah,
posting about veganism. Okay.
yeah.
And then did you, after some time, did you find that there were people that were more open to hearing about your side?
Yeah, so for example, when I'd done vigils, that went public.
Okay.
The vigil stuff would go public because obviously non-vegans need to see what is going on. And if there's no connection there and my post could inspire them like, oh, maybe I should, think about my choices, then that's a win for me and obviously for the animals. So all the vigil photos and videos would always go public.
Okay.
And since I think it was after two vigils, I had messages from a few friends saying, look, I want to go vegan. Can you help me moving forward?
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, what kind of made you change? And they're like, your photos from the vigils. And I was like, all right, okay.
So can I just
So
quickly
then,
stop you there? So for people that are watching, they like obviously I know what a vigil is, but there may be a lot of people that have no idea what you're talking about right now. So could you
yeah,
just
of course.
explain like what that is?
Sure. So a vigil is basically you're standing outside the gates of a slaughterhouse, and the trucks will come in with, it could be pig, sheep, chicken, cows. And obviously they're going into the slaughterhouse, but you have a chance to say goodbye to them, film them, take photos of them, say whatever kind of words you want to say to that animal before, it's about to be killed. So that's what vigil is.
Okay. And was that the first kind of activism that you did then, vigils?
No. So my first activism ever event was when Joey Carbstrong was doing that campaign around Pignorant.
Okay.
He came to my local area to do protest at the RSPCA HQ. And that was kind of like the first thing. I obviously really wanted to meet him at the same time as well. I
Oh.
can't lie. But that's when I kind of introduced myself into activism. And then I met activists there, including John, who I still speak to now, and loads of other people. And then I think after that, there was a AV Cube in the same town. I think it was about a week after. And
Okay.
I've always seen it happen, but I never knew about it. And then obviously when I knew about it, I then started joining and taking part in doing the outreach conversations.
Nice. So like when you decided that you needed to do activism in the first place, like what was the thing that made you be like, "No, I have to do this?" Because it's a scary thing starting to do that, and especially the kind of stuff that you have done. Like, I can imagine that's very freaking traumatic.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I just didn't want to stay quiet about it. I wanted the whole world to know what is going on because I didn't know. And when I found out, I was so broken by it. And I'm like, no, they can't hide these secrets anymore. This needs to be, everyone needs to know about this. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what kickstarted it. And as for like the bravery, I pretty much get looked at every day anyway as a wheelchair user. So
Yeah,
like
that's valid.
it just didn't bother me. Like if you're gonna stare at me for good reason. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of what started it.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you ever have any moments where you were kind of like when you think back to your first ever time of speaking out for the animals, what was going through your head? Like, did you feel the nerves? Like,
Yeah, so for about 3 months after starting activism, I didn't want to do outreach conversations. I was like, nope, can't do it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know how to deal with people.
yeah,
And it was at Earthlings Experience in London in Leicester Square. I was with John that day, and there was a person who was watching the projector, and he was very emotional. And John came up to me and said, go and outreach that person. I was like, I've never done outreach. I'm too scared. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I was like, what if it goes wrong? And he was like, just do it. Just go and do it. And that was one of the best conversations.
yeah.
This guy went from talking about, oh, I could never give it up and I need the protein and all this, to at the end of the conversation, he'd already signed up to Challenge 22, and he was asking me all this advice on what to do, what to eat, like how to get rid of things that he didn't want, for example, like leather bags, things like that.
That's
And he
incredible.
was, so it went from I don't care, I'm not interested, I don't want to give it up, to really genuinely interested and open about it.
That's really powerful stuff. And for your
Yeah,
first talk as well,
I
like
know.
that
I was
must have,
terrified.
got you right up there. Like, yes,
That
let's
got me
go,
on
let's get
such
more.
a high. That got me on such a high. And now, like, if I did an AV event, for example, like I'd turn up and the organizer would be like, she's on outreach.
Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. So, you've done vigils, you've done AV, which is the cubes for where you show footage for people that don't know.
Yeah.
What other kind of forms of activism have you done, if any?
I've done We the Free.
Yep, that's where we
I've
are.
been to Camp Beagle and done really loud protests, really
Oh, tell us a
brutal.
little bit more about Beagle.
So Camp Beagle is held in Huntington, and it's a breeding facility for beagles. So I went to, there was a big protest. There's about 400 activists.
Wow.
It was absolutely crazy. Everyone was like walking around with megaphones. They were shouting, there was screaming, there was smoke flares. It was my kind of protest. Like, it was a good protest. There's about 50 police officers. It was just like, I wouldn't say it was a violent protest, but it could have been if the police were, not behaving on us, kind of thing. But no, that was a really kind of juicy kind of protest. And then I've done another one since then, which I did a few weeks ago, back at the same place. And again, it was brutal. And I think this time there was 3 arrests on that one as well.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to like cops, like what are your thoughts on like having to deal with them? Like, is it
I don't
something
like
that
them
bothers
one
you,
bit.
or you don't
I
like them
do
one
not
bit?
like them one bit. I've had a lot of police brutality through my mental health back in the day. So I'm already traumatized by any police officer that will come up to me, even if I've never met them in my life. Like, it's the uniform, I just can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you manage that?
I don't. I just like, if someone comes up to me and if they're a police officer and they want to talk to me, I'm like, look, I'm not interested. Go away.
Okay, so you
I
just walk
don't
away
want to
from them
talk to
basically.
police. I hate police. Like I said, I don't necessarily hate police, but I don't like the uniform. I don't like the process of it, or I don't like how brutal and stuff they can be. Like I
Yeah.
said, they've given me a lot of trauma, so I think that's why I don't like them that much.
Yeah.
But moving forward, there was last year, I don't know if you know about this, I was actually arrested for a peaceful protest.
Oh no, I don't know.
So I was arrested in Dorking. Me and a bunch of activists went into the Marks and Spencer store. I had a TV on my lap, and the others were just kind of outreaching people. And we got told by the manager to leave, even though we weren't blocking the aisle. Everyone could still access their animal flesh if they wanted to. So we stayed in the store, and we also had some really positive interactions with customers, including a few customers who were originally buying something that was not vegan, seeing the footage we were showing and then putting it back on the shelf.
Oh,
So it
amazing.
was, great interaction. So we said we're not going to leave. So obviously the police were called. So the police were called and they said, look, if you don't leave, you're all going to be arrested. And I was like, okay, we'll leave. We don't want to be arrested.
Yeah.
We don't want to be arrested. And when the Marks and Spencer's manager was there, she said, look, if you want to do a protest, do it outside. So we're like, okay, fine. So we left, but we was outside the store. We wasn't on Marks and Spencer's property.
That's interesting that they said that. Because most
Yeah.
of them just like, no, you're not allowed to on our property, like get lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we stayed outside, and I'd say about an hour later, an hour and a half later, 6 officers turned up. And we basically said, look, why are you guys here? Because we left the store, we're outside the store, we're not causing any issues. And basically there was a false report that we were vandalizing the store.
What?
And the store windows, and there was no evidence to prove otherwise. So I said, look, those are the windows, nothing's wrong with the windows. Yeah. And then one of the activists said, are we legally required to stay here at the moment? And they said yes, and we all got arrested for breach of the peace and suspicion of criminal damage.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So have you like, what was that experience like, being arrested and like the aftermath?
That was awful. Like, we got to the custody centre, and I've already explained to them a few times, look, I can't stand up for longer than like 20 seconds because my legs would just drop.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, that's fine. We'll search you like in the cell or whatever. I was like, okay, fine. We got to the custody centre, and that completely changed. No, we're searching you right now, and you have to stand up. And I was like, okay, fine. You have about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
20 seconds passed, my legs were dropping like to the floor. And I said, look, I really need to sit down. I really need to sit down. And they're like, no, we're not happy with the search. We're not satisfied yet. You have to stay standing. So they basically forced me to stand up for over a minute.
Oh my gosh.
We had our DNA taken, fingerprints done, photos taken, the whole lot. We stayed in the cells from, I think we got arrested around 5 o'clock in the evening, and we were not released until about 3 a.m. in the morning.
Jeez.
And we all got charged, and then we all had to have a plea hearing. And we had the plea hearing, and we've all pleaded not guilty, and we still have to go to trial in November.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's actually
That is so messed up and unjust.
Oh, and we got banned from all the Marks and Spencer stores.
Oh my gosh.
And if we went to the Marks and Spencer store, I'm talking any in the UK, even like the petrol station ones, if we were seen in there, because they all have facial recognition, we'd be arrested and put in a cell until the trial thing.
What the fuck?
Yeah, crazy.
So messed up. Like, so why, like, even though that, like, they think that you are guilty of all the stuff and there's no evidence, like, when you did get released, what did they say? Like, to
In
release?
what sense?
Well, like, because you were being held for like a certain amount of time, but then they were like, you can go now. So why did they?
Well, they said obviously we could go, but then obviously you go up to the desk or at the custody desk, and then they tell you like the results, and like you've been charged, you have to attend court this day. It was terrifying, to be honest. I thought I
Yeah,
was
it
going to
sounds
go
it.
down. I still think I am going to go down, but I
Yeah.
know I've done nothing wrong.
No,
Nothing wrong. Holding a TV is not a crime.
no, it's not.
It's not.
So awful. I'm so sorry that's happened to you. And
It's fine. It is what it is. It's part of being an activist, unfortunately.
yeah, but it's fucked up, isn't it? Because
I
it's
know.
like, you know, you're doing nothing wrong and everyone is allowed a say in, you know, what's they deem right and wrong. Like,
Freedom of speech. Literally freedom of
exactly.
speech.
It's just
Yeah.
so messed up how, like, defensive, I guess, people can be over nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Well, I hope
100%.
when you get your hearing in November that it, you know, you do get away with, well, get away with it like you should because you haven't done anything wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
You poor thing. And
I'm alright.
you're still here, you're still going, you're like,
No, do you know,
yeah,
it was crazy because that really threw me off activism completely, I think, because the day, not even a few hours after being released, we all had police officers come to question us about whether we was going to the Epsom Derby because it was that weekend, which they're not allowed to do. That's police interrogation.
right.
And so that completely threw me off. But I was so put off activism. I was like, I don't want to do anything. I'm so scared to do it. And then I sat there and I kind of questioned, and I'm like, no, they want me to be silent. They want us to be silent, and that ain't gonna happen.
Good for
So I
you.
then organised a supermarket sit-in on Christmas Eve.
Nice. How did that go?
That went really well. We had 12 activists turn up.
Nice.
Including two activists who were videoing the whole thing with like their body cams. We managed to stay in the store for just over 2 hours.
That's good.
Before any police turned up. It was great, and it was Christmas Eve as well. So, like, you're not going to be able to. It's very hard. I thought it would be very hard to get activists on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But I managed 12, and I was like, right, next year, make it bigger.
Nice, yeah, definitely. And how did people like respond and react to that?
I think overall it was a really good kind of awareness thing. I think a lot of people connected and spoke to the activists, and were generally open to it. Obviously, we had a few trolls here and there, but you get that anywhere, don't you? But no, overall, I think it was quite a positive thing because it was quite powerful as well because the activists were literally standing right next to the dead turkeys that people were trying to buy for their Christmas dinner tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it was really powerful, because you could question those people there and then.
So what kind of things did you say to these people? Because obviously Christmas is such a big celebration for meat eaters, and for them, like the whole comprehension of them not having that turkey like they have done all their lives as a traditional thing. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of things did you say to people?
I generally don't know what the conversations were because I made it very clear from the start. The moment I got told that the police were on their way, I'm out of there because it
Right,
was
okay.
Christmas Eve. I didn't want to get arrested on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. I was already spending time with my family on Christmas Day, so I didn't want to get arrested. So, and I think I told the whole group, like when I had the briefing before we went in, if anyone wants to leave, you can. There's no pressure to stay. So I actually don't know what the conversations were because the moment I got told they were on the way, I was out of that
Oh,
store.
okay.
Like I was gone. I was only outside the front or whatever, and I was still corresponding with the activists that were in there.
Yeah.
But I think they were just asking them questions like, how do you feel that, there's birds being killed for your dinner? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, these turkeys, they don't want to die. They feel pain. I think also a few activists had like footage and stuff as well. So I think they were showing that as well.
So where was the footage that you used from for that?
I don't know on that one.
Was it
Yeah,
based around Turkey specifically or just birds?
I think it was based around turkeys.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Awesome. So going back to your like family then, like Christmas, as we're on the conversation, like what's Christmas like in your house? Like your mum's vegan. Is anyone else vegan in your family?
So I'm vegan, my partner's vegan, my little sister's vegan, and my mum's vegan.
Okay.
So that's quite a lot of us. But then the other side of the family, we have a complete carnivore. My dad eats meat. My oldest sister does. Her boyfriend does. So the other side of the family is all like meat eaters.
Right.
So the first Christmas, the day after I went vegan, was very hard indeed. After, especially after I'd just seen, all that footage the day before,
Yeah, of
and
course.
then it's there in front of me, and I'm like, no, this is horrible. But I said to my mum last year, I said, look, I don't want to do Christmas this year. And she was like, why not? And I was like, because of what happened last year. I was like, I don't want to do it. I said, and I'm so much more connected to it all now that I've done vigils and things like that. And she said, okay. So we kind of switched it up and we did a big kind of buffet. It's a big kind of vegan buffet. And then whoever wanted to bring their own food, they could bring their own food. So basically you brought a dish with you,
Yeah.
and you could eat that. And then there was other stuff as well that you could eat. And then it was kind of like a help yourself and you can go and sit wherever you want, do whatever you want. Like it wasn't all a sit down meal.
So was this
Um,
like buffet all plant-based or was there meat there as well still?
Well, obviously there was obviously meat, but you like that was completely separate to everything
Okay.
else. So plant based, yeah.
And did that work better for you?
I thought it was a lot easier to be honest because I knew what was vegan, what was not vegan, and I also didn't have to sit in front of family members scoffing dead
Yeah.
animals in front of me. So that was also nice.
So are you the kind of person that can't sit at the table with meat eaters?
Um, I can, but then there's every inch of me that wants to question them.
Right, okay.
But when it's family, it's really difficult. It's
Yeah.
really difficult to question any family member, especially when you have anti-vegans in your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, that must be very difficult. So
That is very
tell
hard.
us, for the meat eaters that are still out there that might be watching this, like would you be willing to kind of say about like what's going through your mind in the moments that you see them eating meat for you?
Yeah, of course. So after watching the footage from Dominion, and it's the same even when I'm in supermarkets, it's really, really strange. So to them, they're going to see a product, you know, chicken breast, whatever it is, they're going to see that as a product and as protein, as, oh, I'm going to eat that. For me, I see the animal still alive, but in this packaging.
Okay.
And it's screaming for its life. So it's really strange, because I used to just see the product, but now I actually can visualize there's a live animal behind that packaging screaming for their life.
That must be horrendous.
Yeah, that's why I don't like going shopping anymore.
Yeah,
When I doing delivery rather than actually going there. Yeah.
that's fair enough. Yes, it's a tough thing, and that being a visual person like that, especially, that's going to cause a lot of, damage mentally
Yeah,
to see
of
that.
course.
That's
Yeah.
horrendous. Jeez, okay. Well, let's move on to some other subject. So we talked about vegan activism. Let's go to what is your go-to plant-based meal?
Oh my God. That's a really hard question. Oh my God.
Foodie in the house. It doesn't have to be
I,
just
w- I
body.
used I used to eat, I can't lie to you, I used to eat a lot of the processed stuff. So like, this isn't chicken pieces, this isn't burger, things like that, right? I used to eat a lot of that. But now I'm kind of going into the more whole foods.
Okay.
So the best dish that I rate it so well. Like, if I could cook it for everyone, I would. Like, it's that
You
good.
have to just share the
So
recipe and we'll put it in the
it's like a creamy butter bean dish.
yeah.
So you have like fried onions, fried peppers, shiitake mushrooms, fry that all, and then you add vegetable stock. Then you add Oatly single cream, add some water for the obviously the vegetable stock, and then you add a whole jar of butter beans. I use the Bold Bean Co ones because they're the best.
Okay. Are they the
And
ones in
then
a glass jar?
say that again.
Are they the ones that are in a glass jar?
Yeah, the ones that are quite expensive but worth
Yeah.
every penny. So I throw a whole jar of those in, and then you just kind of let it simmer, for about 5-7 minutes. Then you add your nutritional yeast, of course, and then you add all your different spices. So I usually add like chili, pepper, salt, sometimes garlic salt, and again, like stir it, and then you add some of the, once you serve it up, you then add like crispy onions on the top and pine nuts, so good. And then you pour some of the cream on the top. Oh, and you also add chives as well,
Nice. That
and
sounds delicious.
it's to die for.
I'm
It's
salivating just
so
thinking about it.
good.
I'm also hungry. I haven't had lunch yet, so
Honestly, it's so good.
I'm gonna have to definitely for sure try that dish because that sounds banging.
I'll send you the recipe. It's not actually my recipe,
You
ironically.
found on the internet.
I found it on Instagram, a guy that I follow on
Nice.
Instagram, and he does all these like plant-based recipes, and it's all like fresh. And he did it, and I was like, nah, I've got to try it. And I did, and then I added the chili, and I was like, game changer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, awesome. I appreciate that. And then I'll add it to the link so everyone else can get
Yes,
the
definitely.
experience. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Is there any is there anything you miss from thinking about what you used to be able to eat as a meat eater? Like, is there anything that's still out there that if you like haven't tried a vegan version of?
Um, no, to be honest,
No?
I think I've tried pretty much every vegan alternative out there, if that's
Nice.
even possible.
I'm
If that's
impressed.
even I mean, certain brands need to come out with vegan things. For example, I used to love Viennetta, the
Yes. Oh
ice
my
cream
God.
Viennetta,
Yes,
and
mint.
they need a vegan
Yes,
version,
they
and they
freaking
need
do.
to sort that out ASAP.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, if you're watching Viennetta,
Exactly. But no, I generally don't miss anything.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible because there's like a lot of people. they have cravings still, like especially in transition phase. Like, did you have any cravings other than
I had the
you said the
cheese
cheese
craving.
craving?
Yeah, yeah.
But once you'd come over that, was there anything else that you'd like every now and then be like, oh, I really could do with that? No,
No,
didn't get that
no.
powerful.
And my smell, I think my smell has completely changed as well.
Yeah,
I think that's also through vigils. So I used to just be able to go past like favorite chicken, for example. I used to just be able to roll past there, no issues. Or if I'm shopping, go down like the dairy aisle and no issues. Now, ever since I've done vigils, it's really strange. I can't go past one of those shops or down that aisle without choking so much. It's
right.
really strange.
Yeah,
That's how powerful the vigils are, I think. Like every time I go past favorite chicken, I'm literally coughing so badly because of the smell. It's
yeah.
really strange.
You can just smell like the live flesh, I guess, from the vigils and
It's
the
yeah,
state that
it
they were in.
smells like a vigil, but 10 times worse. It's
Yeah.
really horrific.
Yeah, that does sound hard. It's interesting actually because I like before I did this interview, I actually watched back on my last one, and she mentioned about her smell. Like she hadn't done any vigils that I know of. I mean, maybe that's changed now, but she said that she never really noticed the smell, but now she's like, I can't,
Yeah,
everything smells so different, and like she smells flesh. So it's quite
yeah.
interesting that you've just brought that off as well, because we talked about that over the last one 3 years ago. So
That's crazy. It's
yeah.
even like with the corridor that I live down, because I live in a block of flats. There's obviously meat eaters down my corridor. And there's one lady, I hope she can't hear me because she's right next door. Um, I'm not even kidding you. She cooks every single animal possible.
Oh dear.
So I've smelled prawns, I've smelled chicken, I've smelled duck, I've smelled lamb, I've smelled everything. And every single time, it's really bad of me, and I probably shouldn't do this because they might complain, but whatever, I don't care. Every time I smell something dead cooking, I will kind of wait until I get to my flat door, open the door, and then shout down the corridor, stop cooking murdered animals because they didn't want to die. And then I go inside my flat and shut the door.
I love that. Well, hopefully one day she might compute.
It might just click one
Yeah,
day,
and
you
be
know.
like,
She's
oh
like, oh,
shit,
she's got a
she's
point.
talking to me. Like, yeah, that's fair.
I just get so sick of it. So
Yeah.
sick of it.
I can imagine. So, like in my house, I live with one other vegan, and and then one of my housemates like she eats meat, but luckily she doesn't eat meat very much. And but when her ex-partner, whenever he used to come round, like he was notorious for cooking like proper flesh food a lot from scratch. And my room is directly like attached to the kitchen, and there's only like a crappy door, like thin door, so I can smell
Yeah,
everything in the kitchen, and it was fucking horrendous. Like, and I did have to eventually be like, look, you can't, if I'm in the house, like you cannot cook this stuff because I can't deal with the smell. I feel so uncomfortable. This is my home. Like, and
yeah,
yeah, it
of
was
course.
a struggle. Like pork
Yeah.
for me, especially, like that seems to be the one. I remember even when before I was vegan, I could never stand the smell of like cooked pork, like
Yeah,
or beef, I think it is, one of the two. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I can't tolerate it. And it's interesting because like it does smell like flesh. Like now I'm aware
yeah.
of this stuff. I'm like, oh, well that's why, because it smells like burning flesh. Like it's fucking vile.
Mm.
So I'm glad that's
Oh, yeah.
but yeah.
Bless you. I couldn't do it. I generally don't think I could do it. Like my mum obviously lives with my stepdad and he's not vegan, and I don't know how she does it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if my partner was not vegan, I'm sorry, but he would not live. Sorry. I know you can probably hear me, but that's the truth. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I just
I get
I
that.
could not.
It is, difficult. Like with me, so I am open, like obviously it's a preference that my partner's vegan, but I am open to non-vegans, like dating wise. But I do have a very strict rule that in my home, like there's no animal products. And
Yeah.
so I've kind of concluded from like experience of other couples that as long as they're like okay living the lifestyle around me, like I can be okay with them not being vegan. Like,
I couldn't do that.
yeah,
Sorry.
I think, yeah, it's kind of like, well, for me, like I'm I've not been like I was vegetarian most of my life. So for me,
Yeah.
it's like I can still make that influence. And
Yeah, of course, yeah,
and then
100%.
obviously there's the whole side of like obviously I feel very strongly that I don't think being like eating animals is a choice that is your right. However, like everyone, I understand that everyone they have to make their own choice to go
Of
down that
course.
journey. So I
Yeah.
kind of look at it from that perspective, but there was definitely a time that I was like, I don't think I could be with a carnist, like, and yeah, so I've got quite strong um like thoughts and feelings about it, but like
That's
we've
fair.
also got a slight compromise because yeah,
That's fair,
I
yeah.
won't touch them if they've eaten meat and dairy and stuff either. So like they're gonna just to
That's
be with
fair.
me and to work, then they have to just have plant-based stuff around me, otherwise it wouldn't work. But yeah, I do agree. I couldn't live with a carnist. Like I struggle in this
Yeah,
in yeah.
I would lose my shit big
Yeah.
time.
And just yeah, when you open the fridge and there's just meat there, it's like it's fucking hard. Like I don't have like I've got quite a vivid imagination. I don't have quite what you've described, but I just see a dead animal. Like I don't see a product. I see an animal that's a
Yeah,
pain, like and I feel it. So like it's a struggle, but yeah, I've never done any visual stuff, but I have watched a lot of footage to the point that I gave myself a bit of secondary PTSD, I think for sure. Which is why for me, like
obviously.
I can't be in the same room somebody eating me. Like I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah, that's fair, that's fair.
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting now, isn't it? Like different thoughts and perspectives of how people live their life, even though we all believe the same moral compass overall. So
Of course, yeah.
yeah. Right, let's move on. Oh, this is a good question. So, how would you say that veganism has impacted your life?
God. Um, Massively for a start. I've met some of the most incredible, kind, compassionate people that obviously we all just want to change the world for it to be a better place for the
Yeah.
animals. Um, so there's that. Also I've had a lot of, I guess, opportunities that have come my way. For example, I've done stuff with PETA. So I was involved with the disruption at Crufts. Luckily, I didn't manage to get in, thank God.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I
because
saw
that was
evidence of that. That's
brutal.
brutal.
That was my friend. He got flipped out of his wheelchair and he has a spinal cord injury. That's why he's a wheelchair user. And he's now got further spinal cord injury damage. It was brutal. I'm glad I didn't get in.
Mhm.
I think as well it's helped a lot with my photography. Because I'm used to just do anything. And now I'm just kind of solely basing it on like I still do nature stuff, so like there's flowers and stuff. Like I could take some photos of the flowers, but it's more kind of activism based. So like protests and like outreach events. Like I'll be there with my camera taking photos. And I think that's also helped with certain opportunities as well. Like I've had a few brands, like vegan brands, that have messaged me like, oh, I need some photos. Can you help me out? And I'm like, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. Um, what else? I'm just trying to think what else. I think realizing what was going on and then doing the reason why I started doing the vigils was because it sounds really crazy because vigils are so traumatic,
Yeah.
but I wanted to hold myself accountable.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Like I wanted to see for myself because seeing it on footage, you're like, yeah, that's bad. Seeing it in real life, completely
Different
different.
story. Yeah.
Because then it kind of hits you and you're like, this is real. Like this this is happening every day. And I wanted to hold myself accountable for all those years that I contributed to that. So I felt like I needed to be at those vigils to say goodbye to those animals.
Yeah.
And also I think, not that I ever would, but I think from going to vigils, knowing that I will never have to contribute to that ever again. But like, say for example, I don't know, 10 years time or whatever, something switches in my head and I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this anymore, kind of thing. I know that that's not going to happen now. That's not going to happen because I've looked into those animals' eyes and I can't do it. I won't do it. Like, if someone paid me £10 million tomorrow to eat me again, I'd be like, no, on your bike, go away.
Yeah. So I've got an interesting theoretical question for you. So one of my friends asked me this, and he said, if you like being an activist, if you had the opportunity to have like one meat dish, and you doing so, it would make the world go vegan, would you do it?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know, because there's obviously then an animal that's going to suffer, but then the whole world goes vegan. So
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a 50-50.
It's a massive conundrum, isn't it?
I don't know. I generally don't know. I feel like if I say yes, then it's like, oh my God, she's not vegan.
Yeah.
If I say no, I generally, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Something for you to ponder on.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I thought it was cool as well.
I might ask other activists that now.
Yeah, I said he was surprised my answer, but I said no, because I was like, physically I just don't think I can. Like, there's times where all vegans we make this mistake. You buy a product, it's got milk in it, or it's got an egg in it, and you didn't see it. And like, when I've caught myself do that, luckily I've always caught before I cooked it. But even then, I'm like, well, the damage is done now. Like, I've already paid for this product. Like, and I still can't. Like, even if it's the tiniest little, like, I just can't. I physically can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, based on that was why. But I was like, it's fucking awful for me to say that, but I just don't think I could.
Yeah, that's
If it
fine.
happens, I might change my mind. Who knows? But based on that fact alone, I'm like, I don't think I would have it in me. Like, it's the same as if, you get the stupid question, like, if you're on a desert island, would you eat the animal, like, or die? I would die. I would rather die.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so we got one final question before our lovely interview ends. So if for all those people that are like watching, they're thinking about, the path of veganism, what would be one piece of advice that you would give them to help them?
I said this in my outreach conversations. Obviously, Dominion is a good start. I know it's very, very graphic.
Yeah.
But if that's what's going to turn someone, that is definitely going to turn someone.
Yeah.
I think in the back of your head, you've got to remember, like, when I've done outreach conversations and someone's like, oh, but going vegan is really hard. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. It was hard when I went vegan. Like, it was 1000% challenging. But in the back of your head, you've got to remember, all the whilst you're not vegan, those animals that are being sent to slaughter is on your hands. And I think that's probably my advice. Like, to go vegan, just imagine those animals being forced into those situations. That's on you, because you're paying for that.
Yeah.
And by going vegan, you're not contributing towards that. You can go to bed at night knowing you haven't contributed to any animal exploitation. But yeah, obviously Dominion is also a good start.
Nice. Yeah, that's a very thought-provoking response. I like that. Yeah, remember why.
And they don't like to hear it, because it is straight. I go straight out on these people. Yeah. I'm like, look, if you're not vegan, this is what you're paying for. And he's like, oh, no, that's not true. And I said, look, I said, sorry. I said, I know it hurts. I said, I understand that. I said, but all the whilst you're not vegan, this is what your money's going towards. And it makes them really feel bad about it. And then they start questioning it. And then it's
Yeah,
like, oh, we're getting somewhere now. And then they start to become more open with the topic.
yeah, yeah. Nice. That's smart. It's true
It's
though.
like
It's like people
it's
do
like the
need it.
straight hard information. You just throw it at them, and it throws them so off guard. They're like, "What?" And then you're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, yeah, you've got a point here." And I'm like, "Right, thank you very much. My job's here. It's done."
love it. So, before we go, um, obviously we spoke a lot about veganism. We spoke about your wheelchair stuff, and I'm aware that you've are just starting out a running club for wheelchair users as well,
Yes,
which is
yeah.
very exciting.
Mhm.
I'd love to be able to direct people to you if you're open to that, like if they have any questions, if that's
100%.
something they might be interested in to help with in all of the stuff that you do. So how can people get hold of you?
So the best way to get hold of me is Instagram. Like I said, it's just Poppy May Fitness. I am also on TikTok, but Instagram's the best way to contact me.
Okay.
For anything to do with fitness brand opportunities and
Yeah.
like the accessible run club as well.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for interviewing with me today. I've really
You are
loved
welcome.
our conversation, and it's nice to get to know you again. Like we've met like a couple of times, I believe, but it's all hands on deck. So it's nice that
Yeah,
we can get to
literally.
spend time with you and like getting to know you. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming on for me and being the first vegan star vegan. And yeah. And to all the
Thank you.
audience, thank you too for like joining us on this little journey. If you are watching and you are vegan and you'd like to be the next star vegan, please do reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook. Luna Bloomer is my name. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, my bad. Or you can email me on veganbloomers@gmail.com. And yeah, this is going to continue now. Like I've need to reach out to some more vegans but I'm back on and I intend to stay. So again, thank you. Thank you, Poppy, for joining us, and thank you
You're
viewers for
welcome.
watching. Much love and hugs, everyone.
Bye.